Welcome to the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Digital marketing essentials and next-level tactics. From off-site and on-site optimization to persuasive selling and everything in between. You'll learn actionable tips on what it takes to outright and outrank your competition.
Welcome back to another episode of the SEO.co podcast. Today we're continuing the series Link Building for SEO, and we're moving into Chapter 8, How to Find Backlink Opportunities. Every rung of the authority ladder is going to present its own challenges, but identifying and earning a guest posting spot on your first few publishers is likely the most challenging part of the process. Once you have a handful of external presences under your belt, you can use those as a testament to your writing ability and overall reputation, but building that initial momentum is tough. So we're going to talk about some strategies for sourcing link opportunities. First, start with a niche. The best way to get started is to choose a specific niche, as specific as possible. Why? There's a few good reasons. First, consider the fact that most general publications like the Huffington Post are quite discerning about the authors they onboard. They cover a lot of subjects and have a huge readership, so they want absolute experts on every subject they offer. A niche blog, on the other hand, is much more limited in the experts they have access to and will be willing to take in a new voice. They tend to run smaller, which means you'll have an easier time getting in contact with a webmaster or editor, though this isn't always true. But in any case, you can choose a niche very close to your own business, either in terms of industry or geographic location, such as a neighborhood blog. Second, find several key options. Don't just settle on the first place you find, however. Dig deep into your research by looking for niche blogs and contributors everywhere. Go to Google and type in, quote, your niche blog to find blogs in your niche, and use BuzzSumo to find key influencers within that niche. Take a look at each niche blog you find, venturing into peripheral niches if you have to, and start categorizing them in terms of their advantages and disadvantages. Some of the key traits you'll want to look for are notoriety within the industry, traffic volume, domain authority, and willingness to accept new material. If you're just starting out, you don't need super high authorities, but you do need someone who's going to accept your work, so consider setting aside your higher authority or stricter publishers for later. Third, search for contract information. At this point, you should have at least one or two key blogs on which you're willing to guest post. From there, you'll need to find the contact information of the editor or webmaster so you can pitch a potential submission. First, look for a submissions or contributors page. These aren't always there, but if they are, they'll give you everything you need in terms of contact information and content requirements. If not present, check out the blog page and see if you can find contact info for the writers or the editor. If that fails you, a contact page or team page may have individualized contact info you can use. Try using LinkedIn or Twitter search to find the editor at each publication too. Fourth, make a pitch. Once you have the contact info of the person in charge, whether that's an editor or a webmaster, you're ready to make a pitch. This is simpler than you might think, but it does require some strategic forethought. Remember that this is an exchange of value. Present yourself in terms of what value you can bring to the publisher. Introduce yourself briefly and state why you're an expert in the subject and why you think you'd be a valuable contributor. Don't get too fancy or go over the top here. Be sure to proofread your email and proofread your work multiple times before sending. There's nothing worse than a link building outreach email with errors. As you send outreach emails, we recommend using Pitchbox, Mailshake, or Boomerang for Gmail. Fifth, get published. If the editor or webmaster accepts your outreach for links, they'll probably ask you for some specific ideas on what you'll contribute. Send along some ideas that fit the industry as well as their readership, and once you agree on an initial article idea, you can get started writing it. There are just a few more items you'll need to bear in mind during this process. Remember that each publisher is going to have their own formatting and writing requirements. They may require that you adhere to a specific word count minimum and/or maximum, and a specific number of images to include in the piece, or a different style of writing than what you're used to. Be sure to ask and clarify what editorial guidelines they have before you make your formal submission. This will help bring a smooth start to your relationship. From there, it's a simple matter of getting your work published. Once published, you can start syndicating and following up on that post, commenting, etc., to promote it even further. Sixth, maintain a relationship. Even one post on a new publication can be a valuable addition to your link building strategy. But if you can post more content through building a relationship with that editor or publication, by all means do so. Try to maintain an ongoing relationship with your publishers, providing new pitches for approval every so often. Ask them what types of content they'd like to see more of, what they think of your past pieces, how those pieces have performed for them, and how their audiences are reacting to the content they're currently publishing. Again, you want to bring each publisher as much value as you're taking from them, so remember that this is a two-way relationship. Next up, adding new publishers to your link building arsenal. You'll probably start with 2 or 3 decent publishers, but those won't last you forever. Eventually, you'll need to add more higher authority publishers if you want to be successful with your link building campaign in the long run. This is due to the law of diminishing returns when it comes to link coming from the same external domain. When you first earn a link from a new domain, that link will pass significant authority to your site. However, earning a second link from that domain will only pass a fraction of that original authority. Posting your 10th or 12th link will pass on an almost insignificant portion of that original authority, and so on and so forth until each link passes almost nothing. This is because you've essentially already won that domain's third-party vote for your site's trustworthiness. These links will still generate brand visibility and referral traffic, so they're often worth building. But eventually, this law will force you to seek out new sources or start forfeiting the long-term compounding results of your campaign. And this is how you're going to do it. First, identify high-authority publishers. Your long-term goal should be identifying and building relationships with some of the highest authority sources online. There are many ways to find these high-authority sources, some of which are intuitive. Make a list of all the major content publishers you read on a daily basis and all the noteworthy influencers in your industry. Keep a list of these publishers, your end goal targets, in a spreadsheet. You can't go straight from small-level niche publishers to these major players unless you have some sort of catalyzing action like publishing a book, but you'll want to keep them in mind as you start working on your next level of publishers. Next up, bridging the gap. Instead, shoot for more middle-of-the-road publications with authority scores in the neighborhood of 40 to 60, and then 60 to 80. It can be tough to find these. They're not as specifically targeted as your niche specialists, nor are they as prominent and recognizable as your major players. It'll take some research and some digging to find these sources. However, once you find them, you'll follow almost the exact same process you followed to pitch new topics to your niche sources. Except this time, you'll have more features on an external publication to beef up your portfolio. And lastly, ignore rejection. Even if your pitches are fantastic, your demeanor is polite and professional, and you have ample examples of what a great content marketer you are, you're going to get rejected. A lot. Like, a lot. Don't take this personally, and don't take it as a sign that you shouldn't be link building. It's a normal part of the process. Ask for feedback when you can so you can learn from any mistakes you might be making, but otherwise, simply cut your losses and move on. There are tons of publishers out there, and too many of them can benefit from you for you to dwell on a few that don't want to work with you. Anyway, that's all we've got for this episode. Join us in the next episode, which I believe is the final one in the series on link building for SEO. We'll move into Chapter 9, Planning Your Link Building Strategy. Thanks again for listening to the SEO.co podcast, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thank you for joining us on the SEO.co podcast. We appreciate your time. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, and visit SEO.co for more resources based on today's topic, as well as access to more podcast episodes to help you improve your site's long-term SEO success.